is going on, everybody? What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? I hope everybody's doing well. And
Ho, 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 ho.
ho, ho, ho. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate y'all joining us today. We got a special episode. We got a Christmas edition for those who are listening in with us. We are rocking some Christmas swagger. Making couldn't figure out how to put on the Santa hat while having his headphones on, so he's kind of rocking it a little sideways.
It's a really small stocking. It's probably extra small. It's meant for a gift. I have a sweater that says "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal" on it, but my wife put it away somewhere, and she's not here at the moment, so I couldn't get it.
Yeah, and also too, I thought of what a better time to actually wear a Christmas sweater without my wife telling me than on a live stream, right? So I figured I'd throw it on, but that's okay. So thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please make sure if you haven't already, or to send us a comment, let us know who's tuning in. Again, we got a lot of stuff to cover today as we get closer here to really to Christmas. Obviously, wanted to kind of discuss a couple things for kind of go for the weekend, but so first of all, make sure as well, if you haven't already, make sure hit that subscribe button. Really helps support us, and also too, but make sure you don't miss out on any new content, and check out all of our NC State content. Just came out with a new interview with Debbie Yao, and if you haven't checked those out yet, I mean the feedback's been ridiculous. So thank you all who have watched and have enjoyed it as well. But jumping right into it, obviously big news today. NCAA rulings came out finally after so many years. I can't even keep up. I can't even remember how long it's been. It's been too long ago. Let's put it that way.
I think it's 4 years. I think it's 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like either 4 or 5 years. It's been
long enough time for me to be in college.
Exactly. So, but basically, just to kind of recap, so what the penalties are for NC State. So it's a $5,000 fine for the 2022-2023 academic year, or first available opportunity, a reduction in total number of granted awards by one men's basketball scholarship. So basically, we lose one men's basketball scholarship, 1 year probation, 1 year show cause for Godfrey, a 6-year show cause for Orlando Early, and then we have to vacate the wins from 2016-2017 wins. So first of all, I mean, what a heartbreaker. We have to vacate those wins from 2016-2017, right?
Wins.
Darn, man, that just is,
I don't know.
That's unfortunate.
That means that big blowout win that Carolina had against us is no longer existent.
Count.
Yeah,
it doesn't count. It doesn't count. Well, and yeah. That's how I'm gonna take it for sure, because that was.
And the game against Duke and Cameron Indoor, I was at that game. My I think I talked about it before. My friend,
that game goes away too. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
you were there.
My friend was a student. He was like one of the student not managers of the team, but like of the Cameron Crazy section, and he was
now hold on. Did you wear State gear or Duke gear?
No, I had to wear blue. He was like, they won't let you in the section unless you wear blue. So I had to wear blue. But
guys, this guy's a cop out. He's a cop out. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Totally.
I mean,
I get it.
I can't. Yeah, I can't say I wouldn't. Maybe wouldn't.
What you should do is get in there and then have like the Superman thing and like pull open his NC State.
There was one other guy who was sitting behind. It was me and one of my other friends from State. I just had it was just like a blue polo on. It wasn't like a Duke shirt or anything. But there was another guy behind us who had a Duke shirt on. And then when we started winning at the end, he took it off and he had an NC State shirt.
That's what I would have done. If we won, then I would have taken that shirt. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, but just kind of talk a little bit about it. So, I mean, first of all, I mean, I think for me personally, and I think I think it was Rob McLean or somebody commented basically saying like, this is a proof that NC State stuff does not exist. And I mean, I think it's definitely for the first time, for a few times, I can definitely say that this is actually a ruling that the NCAA definitely put in our favor. But part of me kind of thinks of it as that this is kind of the NCAA going, man, we kind of really screwed them over in baseball, so we got to kind of give them a little bit of a break in this part. But I don't know. I mean, do you guys think it? First of all, I mean, I think Keats was even saying, a lot of people are saying it really is going to help Keats a lot more now on the recruiting trail for sure, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I was. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. I think it was because that the staff and the staff. I guess the players doesn't matter, but the whole staff that was here during that is no longer here. So it's like I did see a quote that said they weren't gonna punish, the current team for
players.
stuff that they had nothing to do with.
Right. That's true.
Yep. I mean, for those who saw our interview with Debbie Yell, she had a moment where we didn't really even bring it up. She brought it up, and she said it showed a vote of confidence she had in Keats, where she was saying, or maybe not he deserves a pass, but it has been very difficult for him, particularly in recruiting, because she made a note that a bunch of schools have recruited negatively against NC State using this very thing, and she had a vote of confidence for Keats and moving forward. Like he deserves to have like a clean slate as far as fans view him, like to a degree. I don't know. She kind of worded it in a better way, but
Yeah.
Moore just mentioned how it was very difficult for him, and you could see it in his press release he had, where he said, I'm not going to read it, but it was like a three paragraph thing. Takes about a minute to read it, but he says basically he made a note where he said I feel a sense of relief for our players, everyone within a program, and for NC State University. We have answers, and we can finally move forward. So the last 4 years have taken an enormous toll on our program. So you can communicate. He's trying to professionally communicate. This has really sucked for us.
Yeah.
So now it's gone. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore, and nobody can bring that up in the recruiting trail anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and again, it's something which, again, it's just kind of the monkey off the back a little bit, it's just like, because obviously even Carolina fans have said for a while, which, is hilarious, but it's like, oh, you guys give us crap for NCAA stuff, but you guys have your own thing too. And it's like, okay, come on, don't even compare the two. Okay. Don't even compare the two. So, but yeah, and one thing too, which I do want to say too, as a benefit is, everybody says, I think we've even talked about when Dilly committed to us, talking about like comparing.
You just called him Dilly.
Yeah, we're just gonna call him
that's what I'm
Dilly.
gonna call him now.
You said it so nonchalant when Dilly committed to us. He just
Dilly. That's what I'm gonna call him. Absolutely, I think it's a great nickname.
It's a great nickname. Bud, if he was, because technically he's not 21, but Bud Light should sponsor him if possible.
I agree. But anyway, but the one thing which I do want to say in Keats' favor is that obviously, with all the limelight coming out in terms of how there was definitely a monetary benefit for Dennis Smith Jr. to commit to us, assuming that I mean, hopefully Keats didn't do anything like that again, but also to the balance at the time as well, for him to get through all of that and land a player of Dillingham's caliber, I think says a lot to Keats for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of, so that's one thing I do want to say as well. And but we're talking about men's basketball here a little bit, and so I know that we didn't really have the chance to talk about men's basketball in the last live stream. So, Macon, I'll kind of ask you first of all, are you worried about this season? I mean, do you feel like that we are, do you think that we're heading towards a spot where we're kind of going to start to lose the season here soon? I mean, I know we haven't really hit AC play yet, but I feel like Richmond, that was a tough loss just because I think that Nebraska was a great like borderline win, and I think that Richmond, I think we needed kind of that extra borderline win to show we could compete and win. And heading
I
in the
don't
right
know
direction
how
right now.
much we're favored. The rest of the season in all of our games, I have to look at the FPI or whatever it is, BPI. But, part of me says, yeah, I'm worried. But then again, I'm also not worried because I kind of went into the season knowing it was going to be a battle every game for us. Like it's going to be a long season. So I'm not saying that I didn't believe in the team. So I think there's some other really talented teams out there that are executing better than we are right now, and I won't say I'm shocked, but I think when we lost Manny Bates, it was a big loss, and I think what's been positive for State is that the emergence of Duwana and Gibson. If you have, say, Manny Bates, I don't know what he's averaging. I think it was like 8 points, something like that, and if you can get like 4 points out of Duwana and 4 points out of Gibson, Well, now you've got your 8 points back. So you're basically making up the difference, and Duana's getting the blocks, but you've now added 5 fouls extra. So
yeah,
I really think it's got more to do with, man, I don't want to say it's about coaching, but I just feel like the offense sometimes is so vanilla. And maybe that's just me. You guys can call me out if you want, if I'm wrong on that. It just is a lot of pick and roll, it seems, and it's like when the shot clock breaks down, it's it just seems like we go 1-1. Now most teams when things break down and the shot clock, you're going 1-1 anyway, so I don't really blame them for that. But it's just getting there. It's like a pick and roll over here. That didn't work out. Let's go to the other side. Pick and roll over here. That didn't work out. So we keep trying to pick, and I don't see a lot of creativity. Maybe there is, and again, please educate me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. And I think you look at the fact that I think Cam Hayes is playing as well as he did last season, but I'm not. Part of me is wondering if he is the right kind of point guard. Is he a true facilitator? I don't know. I don't think so. I think he can definitely work on that. And I think that's hurting the team. I think outside shooting is a big thing. I don't think we're shooting very well. I don't know where we rank, but I think Darion Sebron hit his second 3 of the season against Richmond. And I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, like I said, I mentioned Cam Hayes, but he's, I think he can improve sometimes on the facilitating, but man, he was on fire against Richmond. I think he's progressing very well as a shooter in particular, he's getting good shots to a degree. There's shots you can just take. They're just bad shots. He didn't do that, at least against Richmond. At least not that I've noticed as much. I think it's some of these other guys that need to get going from the shooting. And I feel like we could be moving the ball better. So I think there's areas where you're concerned, but I'm not shocked. I just think there's a lot of room to improve. So if we finish 9th, middle of the road in the ACC, or 8th or 7th, whatever it is, I think at this point in the season, I would say 7th is, I won't say it's a positive, but you'll take 7th this year kind of thing, or middle of the road in ACC, because you just there's clearly holes in execution there. So.
Yeah. Well, because the one thing I think that was the biggest struggle for me was not necessarily the offensive side of the ball, because I mean we had 4 players that scored double digits on the offensive side of the ball,
and that's happening consistently. We've got like 5 players averaging double digits, I think.
Yeah. But I mean the biggest.
Maybe that's not it. I just feel like I do think there's some factors there that we can discuss.
Well, the biggest struggle for me is defensively. We're struggling. I mean, Richmond, they shot the ball 52.5%, 36.8% from the 3. And also too, the second thing I would say is free throws. We shot 61% from the line. So, that's
those will kill you. Those will kill you games. And you're not playing teams that are dominant either.
Yeah.
And now granted, I think it's a down year in college basketball. We had the discussion against Purdue. They were a not great looking number 1 team. So
no. Yeah.
Is there really? I think it's a question we should have later about what pecking order would you say the ACC is in right now, as far as best to worst? Because I think everybody else besides Duke right now is kind of like it's anybody's game. Even Virginia Tech looks wobbly at times, but maybe Virginia Tech's second best. But we can get into that later. I do think there's some holes in NC State's game, and free throws. Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I on the same page as making them. It just offensively, it just looks like we don't know what to do with the ball sometimes, especially when it's just half court set. We're good in transition. We got plenty of athletes, but yeah, like you were saying, offensively, there's not a lot going on, and you got to be. And if you're running an offense like that, you got to be able to shoot from 3 and make them, and that hasn't been great this year. Cam Hayes did look good against Richmond. I think he had at least 4. But I mean, the team's always playing hard. They've pretty much been in every single game right up to the last 2 minutes. So it's just frustrating. Couldn't pull some of them out.
Yep. I want to give a shout out to Benjamin. Thanks, Benjamin, for joining us. He said nothing positive from the coaching staff, but the players there are positives. And yeah, I mean, again, I understand again the frustration. With the performances so far, especially it seems like coaching side that we haven't necessarily had anything of benefit from Keats' side, but. And see, here's my thing too. So when during Gottfried's last year, he kept on making the statement saying, "We're a young team. We're a young team. We're making young guy mistakes." Which during that time, I wasn't really accepting that. Why? Because you had Dennis Smith Jr., who you knew was going to be one and done. There is no such thing as young team with Dennis Smith Jr. He was going to go. Right. So with this team, I'm not necessarily saying that because I mean, obviously after the season, you're going to lose Jericho Helms. You're probably going to lose Sebron, but like a DeQuavian Smith, I mean, I see him. I mean, again, I see some. You think DeQuavian Smith's is gone?
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking Darion Sebron. I'm sorry,
Sebron. Yes.
Sebron, I don't know. I just don't think he has enough of an outside shot yet.
Well,
but that can be worked on. That's the thing.
But that is like the easiest thing to fix.
But and especially too because I mean he's got to be one of the best drivers of the basketball in college basketball right now for sure. I mean there's just no stopping him. And I think it was ACC Content actually put out a tweet. I'll have to go back and check what it was, but they're kind of talking about how how many transition baskets he has.
I think it was field goals like at the rim, and he like leads ACC by like 20 shots or something.
Yeah. So again, it's tough to you can't necessarily talk about throwing in the towel yet because again we haven't really even gotten into the meat of ACC basketball yet. We haven't gotten there yet, and so again, and at the end of the day, once again, just as a reminder, Keats is not getting fired after the season. He's probably not getting fired after next season. Lord willing, unless things really go downhill.
I think he's earned time.
He's earned time,
especially with the
investigation. Now if we stay in this little bubble where we're kind of like borderline NCAA, then that Dillingham season to me is going to be exactly like Dennis Smith Jr.'s season with Gottfried, where it's like, okay, if you can't do a lot with that team, then maybe it's time to move on, right. and I think honestly that is a respectful way to do it. I think he would be here for what, 8 years? That's plenty of time, and I surely would hope that he would even respect that. Okay, so I mean, I surely would hope. Again, I know it'd be disappointing for sure, but I think honestly, because again, just a reminder too, because look at Hubert Davis right now. Can we talk about Carolina right now? How they got absolutely smoked by Kentucky, which again, I'm not saying, haha, UNC, you got smoked. I'm just saying at the end of the day that if Keats can figure it out before Hubert, figures out his little mojo, and then before, John Shire, kind of figures out his mojo, then that's all the favor to us. That's all the benefit to us. Because again, if we fire Keats, then we're starting over just like they are. Because what if we're maybe like a Leonard Williams, kind of deal with FSU. It took him a while, but he eventually stayed into what it is today. So not necessarily saying that's going to be us, but
you don't want to wait like 9 years like he did.
You don't want to.
Florida State. NC State's not Florida State. NC State's got way more history than Florida State and better pedigree. Not more recently, but to me, State should not settle. I know one thing that tipped me off is I know Jay Billis. Oh, I'm not saying you're saying that at all. I know you're not saying that. But Jay Billis, I know he had a statement he made about a few years ago where he was like, I think it was specific about State, where he was like, yeah, they shouldn't think they're ever going to amount to anything. When you got Duke and Carolina in your backyard, I mean, it was like, who does he think he is? Like, who was Duke before Mike Krzyzewski came around? I mean, like, who was Texas Tech before Chris Beard? Who was I guess now you could say who was Florida State before Leonard Hamilton? Who was Butler before what's the guy's name? Butler.
Brad Stevens.
My point is, any of those schools can be NCAA tournaments. Who was George Mason before Jim Larinaga went that one season? Like VCU before Shaka Smart. It's just like those kind of comments are ignorant and they irritate me because like State can be a blue blood college team. They have been historically. They can get right back there. And I do think that Mr. Keats can I think he deserves not a pass, but like again, I think he needs to. I'm going to be very interested to see what progressions are made now that this cloud is not over us. This NCAA cloud's not over us. I was just looking up. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
And hopefully, he's doing. He got Robert Dillingham with this up in the air, and now that it's cleared, who knows? Maybe he can even get better recruits. Like I think, what's his name? Sadiq Bey. I think who's now like an NBA starter.
Almost had him.
I don't think he ever. It was like a hard commit, but I think he was. I think there was a time where he was leaning towards us a few years ago.
Sadiq Bey had committed when Mark Godfrey was on staff, and then he decommitted when Keats was hired. That's what happened. So
okay, never mind.
But my thing is like Josh Hall, Jalen LeCue. He can get those kind of guys, and it's just. Yeah. I mean, it can happen. I just your scoring points. I was looking it up. Like right now, here's one thing. Like for instance, I was looking up here. We are averaging 77.3 points per game, tied for 85th. It's not bad. Could be better. Right in the middle. Here's one that stood out to me. Assists per game. We're averaging 10.6 assists per game. That ranks 401st in the country. Like to me, that's the isolation basketball. You're not moving the ball around very well. And assists come in when you're making buckets. So I think that kind of comes back to the facilitator kind of comment I made earlier. We need more of that, I think. Yeah. And the shots need to go down because these one-on-one drives by Darian Sebron or Cam Hayes getting a shot here and there or Hellam's kind of posting up and doing his thing. Those are all individual shots. It's not getting good ball movement, and it could be better.
Yeah, well, I think you gotta Cam Hayes is. It's tough, like you said. He could be a better facilitator, and he could be a better shooter and scorer. And I feel like your point guard has to be really good at one or the other. And right now, he's kind of in between on both, and I think that's hurting us a little bit.
And he's still young. Yeah, but it's just like you're playing ACC now, man. You gotta, we got. It's kind of like. I hear you. You're young, but you got to step up and make the plays. And he's doing it offensively. He's getting better and better, but it's just, it's not what it could be.
Now, do you think this is kind of last question I wanted to ask for men's basketball, but do you think with Manny Bates being out for the year, do you think he comes back because now obviously draft stock is kind of, not really, I feel like a question right now, unless maybe, he talks about, going to, maybe like a G League or something like that, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's kind of a tough question.
Yeah, I don't want to be to answer that question because think about it. He's been here a long time, and would it benefit him to come back here? Yeah, but at this point, would he benefit just as much playing in getting paid and literally not having to worry about school and basketball, but basketball all the time?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he would, but I'm not going to say that too loud because I want him to come back. But and he was gradually improving. I think they said at one point he was one of the better 3-point shooters in the offseason for NC State.
Yeah.
So
I like it. But just as a reminder, in 2023, misery. Got Dilly coming along, man. So.
There you go. And hopefully, he's the only commit in that class so far, right?
So far, but that'll get better.
He's the point guard.
That's what I'm saying. Hopefully, Keith gets a good, another maybe a good big man to pair with him or something.
Yeah. So Ted, I know you brought up wrestling, and we'll definitely talk about that. So yeah, I'll go ahead and discuss. So yeah, obviously big win today for NC State wrestling, beating number 10 Missouri. Ed Scott and Isaac Trumbull looked dominant today. Well, okay, I say dominant, but they were huge for us today. That's a better word. That's a better word. They were huge for us today and pulling off that win. And Trent Hadley, the Raise the Roof brother, the air guitar playing son gun that he is, pulling it out. The major decision today was awesome. So huge win. So make sure. I think Iowa won tonight, so that means that we would face number 1 Iowa tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So make sure that if you're not already signed up with Rofkin and bought the pay-per-view, again, it only costs $19.99 for the entire process between signing up and buying the pay-per-view. So make sure to go and get that done. If you have any questions about how to do that, feel free to DM us and so we can check that out, because that is going to be a humongous match for sure. Humongous match. So we're number 5 in the country. They're number 1. So a lot of implications on the line for sure. So now I wanted to, I know that, we kind of want to discuss women's basketball first, but since Benjamin asked, I want to go ahead and discuss it. But so he said, do y'all think Ben Finley or Aaron McLaughlin transfers after the bowl game? I just don't see both of them staying with a 4-star coming in. And I can say without really talking really too much premium that, I know that IPS and Pack Pride have definitely talked about this for sure. So I want to, but so I don't want to necessarily, take away anything from that. But I could just say, just for me as a fan, that there's almost no way that both of them stay. There's no way. I mean, just because, Leary is going to be our quarterback for this coming season. And then you got MJ Morris coming in as a true freshman. And so, really, it only makes sense really for one of them to stick around. Now, again, we could get Shock the World, and we could, have it basically so that they both stick around to basically compete for the job after Leary leaves. But it seems like to me that I would be shocked if the coaching staff didn't have a little bit of extra love for McLaughlin, just because of the fact that he gives us that second phase of the game with the running game that not necessarily Finley can't give us, but just he's not as, again, McLaughlin's he's an athlete. He is fast, he is quick, and he can throw the ball, ladies and gentlemen. So I just feel like you can't let a guy like that go.
Yeah, I think if one of them does, I think it'll for sure be Ben Finley. McLaughlin, I'm looking for right now, which I thought, he was a higher rated recruit coming out of high school than MJ Morris.
Look at it this way. McLaughlin was Tim Beck's guy. He was the first quarterback he got, and if I had to pick who would leave out of the two, it'd be Ben Finley.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I want him to, but I also know they're kind of over scholarships a little bit, and there's kind of guys who will have to leave. Mm-hmm. I think a guy like him makes some sense. And you already saw that when we were up, I think against Syracuse in the football season, that McLaughlin was in the last few minutes. McLaughlin took the snaps.
Yeah.
And not Ben Finley. So he's already, and he came in, McLaughlin came in after Finley. So it's kind of like, well, hey, dude, if you're okay with being third, we're good to have you here, but you're probably good enough to play it somewhere else, like East Tennessee State or something like that, or Middle Tennessee State that Bailey Hockman went to, kind of thing. You could actually play some football somewhere.
Well, it would be kind of tough just because, especially for me, I remember at the Carolina game that Ryan Finley and his entire family was actually sitting up in the stands watching the game. And, because again, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's not personal. At the end of the day, right. But for me personally, because, I was there when Ryan Finley came on. And again, Ryan Finley was a stand-up guy. And again, just this guy that, obviously is, it's definitely in the argument for top 5 greatest NC State quarterback of all time. And so, we love them and their family, and we love that Ben, wanted to come, and not necessarily saying a goodbye party here. There is a chance for sure that Ben Finley could get the job. There is a chance. We're not saying that it's not a chance. I'm just saying that, just like, but Macon was saying, between it being Beck's guy that he went after, and then also too that that he offers a skill set which unfortunately just Ben Finley cannot offer, then it's gonna be tough to let that guy like that go. So
in the size. I mean, he's 6'5", 220. Like that's NFL size QB.
Yeah, that's right. So now he does need to put a little bit more meat on him for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess
But
for 6'5", 220 is a little skinny.
yeah, a little skinny for being that tall. But yeah, Justin Cook brought up Lex Thomas coming in 2 more seasons, and yeah, well, hey, we'll see. That'll be a heck of a quarterback room between McLaughlin, MJ, and Lex Thomas. So let's put it this way: QBU is fine and well, is living and breathing. So, and so now I want to kind of transition to women's basketball a little bit, just because obviously it was a big week this past week. Between the loss to Georgia, and then the win over Virginia. Now, one thing which I do want to go ahead and say is I know one of the things that I tweeted about last night was about Raina Perez and her going down with what seemed like an ankle injury. And I haven't heard anything yet in terms of news about severity, any say. But the one thing which I will say I actually tweeted out was that from Just Cook actually sent in saying that showing that Raina Perez was back on the bench, not wearing any kind of boot or anything like that. So hopefully it was just, that the game was well within hand. So we're just going to sit Perez and let her rest. Hopefully just like, she twisted her ankle or something like that. So hopefully nothing too bad. But again, luckily enough, and I pretty much, said this as well, is that, I mean, obviously depth is one of the things that we were not hurting for sure. I mean, obviously Diamond Johnson can jump right in there as a point guard. Now, the one thing I will say is that Raina Perez is definitely one of our leaders. She offers something on the floor that she can just she's kind of just like a piece of the glue that holds the team together while it's on the floor. Now, I'm not saying that without her, the team's going to fall apart. I'm just saying that she is a big piece that when, in times where people have struggled, she's been one of the people that we could rely on to step up. Hopefully whatever it is
perfect in shooting last night.
Yeah.
Or whenever that was, right? I think she was 6 of 6 from the field and
at one point,
3.
Yeah. So just, I mean, I guess my biggest hope is just whatever it is, just hope that's nothing serious, and hopefully she doesn't miss too much time, to have her back. But Macon, I know obviously the Georgia game was a tough loss. Obviously, every an NC State basketball game cannot go without a little bit of controversy. And I know there at the end, Westmore made it perfectly clear that there was a good bit of contact there when Alyssa Cunane, went up for the layup, and she got a little bit of hand check there with no call. So, I mean, did you happen to watch it back, Maker, or did you see that play specifically?
I watched some of it back. I didn't watch a ton of it back. I watched near the end. I just thought Georgia made some big shots. So that one shot that girl made, we made. See, it was really that the dynamic of the end of regulation was what was the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
They missed the free throws, then we missed some free throws, I thought, and then she had that big shot at the end there with like a second left. I've forgotten that they're allowed to advance the ball in women's basketball, but you gotta give them credit. I mean, it came across to me like, I don't say State didn't really want to win the game, but they clearly just didn't do enough to win. And that sounds cliche, but if I understand it correctly, I think it sounded like free throws were a problem that game. Maybe I'm wrong. So I didn't watch a ton of it.
Well, and again, one of the biggest things I want to say immediately is, first of all, again, that loss to Georgia, and I said it, I think maybe on the last live stream, or I said it at some point, but that Georgia loss made me not lose one bit of sleep. At the end of the day, I mean, that team, first of all, that Georgia team going to compete with South Carolina. Like I'll say it now, that team is not going to get blown out by South Carolina. They are a good team. They are a really good team. So,
not an ACC
want to say that.
Loss.
Yeah,
and it's not an ACC loss. It's a great point. Great point.
So, and because then again, at the end of the day, our goal wasn't to have a perfect season or to be number one in the country. At the end of the day, hey, if we can, I mean, we're going to be one of the top seeds. I'm not even necessarily saying we're going to be a top 4 seed. I'm saying at the end of the day, I mean, even if we struggle a little bit or takes a little bit for us to roll, but we're going to be what, a 1-2 seed at the least. But what I'm here to tell you though is, again, you still got Wes Moore as your coach. You still got one of the most experienced teams in the country, one of the most talented teams in the country. You have some of the most talented newcomers and Diamond Johnson, and even Madison Hayes has been effective off the bench. So you got Jada Boyd, rocking and rolling back from injury. Kayla Jones is rocking again. So again, no worries about it whatsoever. I truly do want to preach that. I mean, not one bit sleep over it. But
I was looking here at the free throw percentage. We shot 60% on free throws for the game. That's not going to get done in a close game like that.
That's about what the men shot against Richmond.
Yeah, 60% women shot. Yeah,
different storyline. Yeah, different ending there. But yeah. So, but again, it's again, we're in great shape. I know that Justin said we have a break until the 30th when we play at Clemson, so we got a good bit of a break here, and so that's plenty of time for Raina to heal whatever it is. But the one thing which I will go ahead and say while we're talking about basketball is I know that I tweeted out and I said in the last live stream that we are going to be starting a new watch party. So for the Miami game, which is on the 29th, I think it's at 9 p.m. We're going to be doing a watch party. Basically, what that means is we can't actually stream the game here, so that you can watch it with us because of DMCA guidelines and copyright laws. So we can't do that. But what we will do is basically be watching it live separately. So three of us will be watching it separately, and we'll be reacting to it live in person. So you'll be able to see our reactions, hear our reactions. You'll be able to comment your thoughts, your questions. Obviously at halftime, you can join us and we'll talk about thoughts so far of the first half. And then after the game, we'll talk a little bit as well. So again, but it's really something that even if you want to watch the game yourself, you can have on, be listened to in the background, or even just, if you see a foul, you could turn around and be like, what the heck, and comment to us like, what was that call? What was that thought? So again, it's just something we want to do, just to, kind of have a place where fans could tune in and join us and have a good time. Again, we're looking forward to it. So make sure, and again, details will come as we get closer. We're in the works of basically upgrading our entire platform here. So hopefully by the time that game comes, this whole live stream experience will be a whole lot different. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, but to go ahead and put it in the books, put in your head that on the 29th when we play at Miami.
You're spending it with your friends at home? No, you're spending it with us.
You're spending it with us at Tuffy Talk. Yeah, that's right.
And we know most of you guys are just going to be watching the game at home by yourselves anyway. So
yeah, nobody actually wants to go to just kidding.
Nobody wants to go to Miami. That's right. So, yeah. So with that being said, though, so talking a little bit football here. Obviously, we only have 20 minutes or so left, so we can't do a full preview per se. But wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about it. First of all, I think that the more and more, first thing I want to say, because I feel like we got to bring this up because it still hasn't happened yet, and that's literally that Icky, Bam, Carter, Trenton, Dunn are all sitting there, and we're all going, what are y'all doing? And even Icky, we're all sitting, I remember I went to dinner with my cousin last night, and he literally asked me, he was like, well, you have all the inside scoop, right? What is Icky doing? Why is he not declared yet? I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea why he hasn't declared. I have no clue. I have no idea what
I'm going to
he's
speak
doing.
on this because Mark Godfrey. Wow, not Mark Godfrey.
You got him on your head.
Yeah, Dave Doran said during his press conference with the signing of the 22 class, I believe it was, he said he did make a comment that somehow to the effect, it was kind of off the cuff, like as if it was understood. He did say, we're gonna be in a season next year without Icky and so blah blah blah. He said that. So
okay.
I mean, I'll have to go find the link, but I believe it was during the press conference about the 22 recruiting class, the signing class, I should say. He made a comment. I think they're talking about Jacarius Peak having signed with State and how he gets a tackle and
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to bring guys in. He's like, "Yep, he's going to be a year next year." It was very quick. No one really highlighted that during the conference, but it was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a year without Icky next year," or something like that. So it was like, "Okay, well, there you go."
But but at the same time, everybody assumes he's already going pro. So like, it could be just Doran assuming that.
Now here's what. Okay, now here's what I'm going to get a sidetrack here. Jaguars now are the projected number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think so because of the Lions one.
Every mock draft I've seen have Icky going to the Jaguars, even the number 2 pick. What are the chances he's the number 1 pick? That's all I'm saying.
A lot of mock
drafts. It's a lot more than the 1 in a million that Lloyd Christmas got in Dumb and Dumber, where he's like, "So you're saying there's a chance?" Like, I mean, what would that could happen? Every mock draft has him going to. I've seen has him going to Jacksonville. Justin Cook's like, "No way, bro. You're probably right. I'm delusional. I get it." But he was number 2 in the mock draft from CBS Sports to Jacksonville. There's another one that wasn't CBS that had him going like 5th to Jacksonville that was like a few weeks ago. So
yeah. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of time between now and the draft, and there's still a pro day. There's still, I mean, he's going to be invited to an NFL pro day. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, hopefully he can impress there. So, I mean, again, it's not like that the draft is like tomorrow, but I mean, again, I'm just curious again why he's waiting. I mean, and just because
he wants to like build it up. I mean, he wants to do some big production thing. I don't know.
There are some good offensive tackles this year. There's a guy from Alabama, a guy from Mississippi State. I mean, he could just be like also kind of like
Cross and Neal. Neal's from Alabama. Cross is from Mississippi State.
Yeah. You know that Bam's waiting on feedback on where he'll go. Maybe Icky is doing it the same, except whether he'll be the number 1 offensive tackle or like the number 3 offensive tackle. But that could make a big difference.
Yeah, but again, I think it's and Justin Cook brings it up. And I do want to discuss as well with the Drake Thomas announcement that was hilarious. I mean, afterwards, I'd be beforehand. But here's my thing, and I did kind of think about this before, like after I saw him say, "I have an announcement 1 p.m.," which is that all reports are saying that he's pretty much the one that's leading the charge to convince Thayer to come back. Yeah. So why would he all of a sudden go when apparently he's the one trying to get Thayer to stay? So it's like, it just doesn't make sense. And also too, because I mean, let's be real. I mean, because the one thing which I want to keep in mind is that I want everybody to keep in mind as well is that anybody that was a part of this football season, if they don't come back for next season and when we win the ACC championship next year, they don't get bowl rings, you know. I mean, they don't get ACC championship rings, you know. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if you want to be around, you want to enjoy the full benefits of all of that work that you put in, you got to stick around. And I truly do believe that Drake Thomas is one of those guys that's absolutely bought in from the day that he came on to win ACC championship, including other guys like Savion Jackson, Josh Harris, Tanner Ingle, Peyton Wilson. All these guys have obviously a mission, and I don't think he wants to miss it. Now, the one thing which I will say from his end is that I think from a draft stock perspective that this would be a great time to go because, I mean, he had a ridiculous season, and obviously the one thing with defense at the end of the day, there's only one ball carrier or ball holder to tackle. So, and obviously, and to have Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore also now going after the same tackles that you're going after, you know, can affect things. But I mean, you know, I mean, if like NC State has had 2 different defensive lines that have had all 4 guys drafted within the first like 3-4 rounds. Yeah, so why can't it happen to linebacker as well? Why can't Peyton go, you know, first round? Isaiah Moore go 3rd round, Drake go 4th round or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
It can happen. So that's my thought on it, really. I mean, do you guys kind of have the same thought on that?
That sounds pretty spot on. I mean, like, I think he'll, you know, everybody coming into the season, he was considered to be the 3rd best linebacker on the team. Mm-hmm. But, you know, because of how he played this year, he may end up being the 1st or 2nd best linebacker on the team,
barring injury. But
it'll be very interesting. I think. Yeah. I just don't know. I mean, State will have the number one linebacking room in the country next year. I don't know if it'll be close.
No doubt about it. It's yeah.
I mean, was Drake Thomas a first team All ACC pick?
Yeah, I would have.
And he was considered the third best. Was he? I think he was.
He got 2. I know he got 2 votes for ACC Player of the Year. So I'm assuming he was on first team.
So yeah, offensive player was
I'm pretty sure.
No shocker there.
Yeah.
Linebackers. Yeah, he got first team All ACC.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So my thing is, and he was considered the third best linebacker.
Yeah, right.
At NC State. Yeah.
So you got a guy who was potentially an Isaiah Moore, who people were saying mid-season, is he playing to the defensive player of the year level? And you had Peyton Wilson going in. People thought, is this the preseason favorite for a player? Yeah. So essentially, you have 2 guys that at one point at the same position were considered, are those the guys the defensive player of the year? Right. And they're both coming back with you've got 3 first team linebackers, and 2 of them were considered, it's unbelievable.
Well, and again, the one thing which I'll keep in mind, because definitely for me, honestly, for next year, there's 2 thoughts. First of all, the phrase comes to my mind that everybody knows all too well, which is defense wins championships. And there's no doubt in the world that next season, I think, honestly, we could have one of the top 5 defenses, not in the ACC, but in the country. Honestly, I mean, we're going to have a dominant defense. And then on the offensive side, I know there's a little bit more questions, obviously, because the offensive line needs to rebuild a little bit. There's questions on the running back side. Obviously, wide receiver wise, does Devin Carter come back? But at the end of the day, the one thing which I will say is the quarterback position changes everything. And at the end of the day, we have our guy. So go ahead.
My thing is, though, I don't want us to be what Carolina was, and I don't think we will. And my reason why is because of our defense.
Yes.
We actually play defense, and they don't.
We have the same kind of defense.
But what you think about it, Carolina lost their top 2 receivers and their top 2 running backs. So they had, those 2 or those 4 big losses, and I talked about that in the preseason. I thought Carolina, I did not understand the top 10 hype because they lost 4,000 yards of offense, and I just didn't get it. And I don't want that to be for us, because we could lose our top 2 running backs. We could lose, potentially you could lose your 3 starting receivers, because there's still talk about could Thayer and Carter leave. Now, do I think that happens? No. Could one of them leave? Yeah. What if you lose Emeka Emezi, Devin Carter, and you lose Bam Knight and Ricky Person? It'd be the same. And you have Carolina knew they had a quarterback with Sam Howell.
That's a good point.
It could be some. I think the difference is defense. I think we have a historically great defense for NC State. That's why it's key for me to have. Honestly, I think in particular, I think it's going to be key to get Devin Carter back, because we put up this last live stream. I think you can get. I think, and I know, I want Thayer. Thayer is a great player, but Porter Rooks plays the same position, and we all have a lot of faith in Porter Rooks to get the job done at this point. I don't know who that X receiver is, though, behind Emezi and Carter.
Yeah.
And not to say that, again, the transfer portal is still open. So I mean,
100%. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if we all know, is that if there's one thing that became a new superlative for head coaching in college football over the last 2 years, it's transfer portal skills, and there's no doubt that Doran would have a pretty high grade in that aspect.
Well, they're targeting guys who are like starters. You think about it. They're not going to go just target a guy just to go get a guy. They're trying a guy like, could you be an instant impact kind of player? Derek Pitts, Corey Durden. I'm trying to think who's Joe Shelfo. All these guys are starters.
Well, but the one thing which I will say is that I won't say who it was, but somebody was saying that that the transfer portal is for guys you want, but the high school recruiting is for guys you need. And I would actually argue it's opposite. I would argue that high school is the guys that you want to get and you want to develop and you see a long-term potential in, and then the transfer portals for guys that you need to start right now and fill in holes.
Yeah, fill a
you
hole.
know,
To me, they're proven commodities. They're proven commodities in college when they kind of run this program. They may have played a different level, but the question is always it's how players can process going from high school ball to college ball.
Yeah,
and I get there's a difference between Division II or non-Power 5 to Power 5, but there's not as big of a jump, I imagine. So, just my biggest thing is what we know we've got in Jordan Houston. I haven't heard of this much hype in NC State in a long time over one player like Demi Sumo has, or whatever, Demi Sumo, and then we all saw Delbert Mims at the spring game last year. So we know we've got that. Could State still bring in more running backs? Yeah, they're bringing in Michael Allen, 4-star running back from Rose High School and from Greenville, North Carolina.
Yeah,
but I just think that for me the big thing is if I had to say, it's getting Carter back, because I think he's that large body. You can throw it up to him and he will get it. He's not as good at that right now, or he has not been as good at that as Mezzi. I think Mezzi is really freaking good at that. But Carter he's the next logical.
Best option.
He's the best option. And he's like, you're not going to find many Devin Carters.
So assuming that's Devin, assuming that Devin does come back, who do you start in that Emeka's position? Is it Anthony Smith? Is it Micah Crowell?
You said if Devin Carter comes back?
So basically meaning that we need to replace one starting wide receiver spot. Because if you have Devin and Thayer come back, you're still losing a Mezzi, and you still need to fill that hole. So I mean,
I wonder if you do. I wonder if you play Rooks and Thayer. I don't know if that works or not, but I do think you need to give Anthony Smith more touches. But
for sure.
I don't know.
Now, Benjamin Orman brings up the Campbell wide receiver transfer, Caleb Snead. Actually, last week he committed to Liberty, unfortunately. So, but yeah, no, that was a guy that when he transferred, I was like, interesting. So, because he was and I was actually looking up his stats even, and he had 148 catches for almost 2,500 yards, last 5 touchdowns. So. He was ridiculous.
Hey, you know what they call Campbell, right? Campbell is called UCLA. You know why?
Why?
You know why it's called UCLA? For everybody's out there, it's a fun fact. My family's from my dad's side family's from Anger, which is right there near Campbell. But it's called UCLA. Jokingly, it's a nickname because it's the University of Campbell between Lillington and Anger. That's what they call
it. Hey, Campbell had the #1 FCS recruiting class.
So my cousin is the cheerleading coach at Campbell.
Hey, there you go. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
That's
Stephanie Fox, love my cousin.
Shout out to you, Stephanie. So So again, it's which is your starting, probably going to be first or second team All ACC next season. I'm calling it now. There's no way I feel like, barring injury, that he does not finish outside of that. I feel like he is going to ball out. And now, now there's a spotlight on him. Now there's a flashlight on him that is like watching what he does. Going into this season, that nobody really talked about him, but there's going to be people that are going to talk about him this season. Now, I don't think necessarily they're going to say, oh, he's going to be, first team All SEC, but I think people are going to be like, that's the guy that we need to watch. And so you got that. Dorn's going to build around him. Beck's going to build around him. And again, I just don't understand Leary, talking about Leary.
Yeah.
Because you have your pieces, so.
Yeah. I mean, I saw an ESPN article the other day that they always do the way too earlys, and it was way too early top 20 or top 2022 Heisman candidates, and then Leary wasn't in like the first 5 he mentioned, but he was in the up and comers category in like the next 5 that he mentioned. So
I thought you were about to say he was on that list. I'm like, oh,
no.
Hey, that's where Kenny Pickett kind of was. Not really. Was he even anybody's radar?
I don't even
Was Kenneth Walker on anybody's radar? No. Was Aiden Hutchinson for Michigan? I don't think so.
But okay, hold on a second. Again, are we really going to bring up this year's Heisman Trophy? Because you guys know that is a tough subject for me this year. I truly do say again, and I'm going to say this. I know we've already talked about this.
Why? Who?
But I'm going to get into this because again, honestly, in my opinion, there should not have been a Heisman Trophy winner this year. I think honestly that the Heisman Trophy this year was a sham. It was again like
you're a sham, Leighton. Okay, you're a sham.
The only reason why Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy is because of one game, because of one SEC championship game. That's the only reason he won.
I mean, he had
let's have this discussion. Who deserved it?
He had a good year.
Well, yeah, Bryce. Well, he had a good year, but again, I mean, like when you like even like Johnny Manziel, like when you watched him play during his Heisman year, he stood out to you. You know, he was a guy that was like, well, that dude is special. And then like Derrick Henry, like all these Heisman Trophy winners, they're special. Like you just like watch them and you go, wow. But like again, Bryce Young, Aiden Hutchinson, I liked a lot. Honestly, I think that if Bryce Young didn't have that ridiculous game, the SEC championship game, I hope that the NCAA would have shocked the world and given it to Aiden Hutchinson because I mean that dude was a baller.
He finished second.
Honestly, I thought they should have given it to Kenneth Walker. Man, that dude. How many running backs do what he did?
Man, well, I understand it, but then he wasn't even there.
He finished.
You said what?
Yeah.
He wasn't even there.
Yeah, he wasn't even weird.
He wasn't even finalist.
I know. That's who I thought should have won, though. I mean, I just do. I just think like nobody. How hard is it to do that? I mean, it gets harder for a quarterback to do what they did, but like you're saying, Bryce Young did it off of one game. I mean, whatever. But no one else could do it.
Yeah. Bryce Young had 4,322 yards, 68% completion, 43 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. Like that's
okay.
That's a fantastic year.
That's getting it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes.
Layton's like, shut up, guys. I'm right.
But okay.
But I agree. Like Alabama didn't look dominant like they usually do.
You give any quarterback the wide receivers that Nick Saban hands these quarterbacks. I'm sure they're going to do pretty good as well. Now, I'm not saying that Bryce Young's a scrub. I'm just saying at the end of the day that this year, okay, again, and see, here's an example. So literally earlier this season, there was a time where the Oklahoma State quarterback played 2 quarters, and after that game, he was in the Heisman race. He played 2 like he
well the Heisman stuff is a whole bunch of it's a big joke. I totally get that.
I do agree that nobody really stood out this year.
Nobody was like
really
except Kenneth Walker. I'm just telling you right now. You can't tell me he didn't stand out. If he was not on Michigan State's team, who would they be?
I agree.
Who would Michigan State be? They were a top 10. Were they 8th or 10th? They would have they would nowhere be where they are now besides Kenneth Walker. Bryce Young, they can maybe get away with it. Aiden Hutchinson. Now, Nick Saban's probably going to call me up and just cuss me out because I said that. Don't you diss my quarterback? Or Aiden Hutchinson, great defensive end. Was he any better? What was his? Go look up his stats. Were they better than Chubb's?
Hutchinson.
Yeah,
they were very similar. I think he had like 13 or 14
Okay, sacks. And Chubb was the top number, wasn't with the 5th pick overall. Yeah. I mean, it's just. I don't know. I thought Kenneth Walker deserved it, man.
So Aiden Hutchinson had 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 58 tackles.
Okay, what were Chubb's his last year?
No, wait. Hold on a second.
No, that sounds about right.
No, yeah. 33 solo tackles and 58 total tackles, 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Yeah. So 14 sacks was tied for third. Was third in the country. So, but again, because.
So hold on. You said what were his numbers again? Make sure I heard this right.
So he had.
It was not as good as Chubb.
Not statistically, no.
Yeah, what?
He wasn't. So he had 58. I think it shows here. If I'm reading this right, it says 58 total tackles, 33 solo tackles, 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles.
Oh, he did have better sack numbers.
Yeah, Chubb had 10 sacks his last year.
Yeah. But because here's the thing too is that like look at the Ohio State game. Aiden Hutchinson was a nightmare to CJ Stroud in Ohio State that day. He was a nightmare. he changed that game.
Rat poison,
So,
Justin. What are we talking about? Rat poison?
yeah, no,
what that is
I don't know either. But at the end of the day, again, I mean, literally, again, like this year, like again, CJ Stroud was a Heisman finalist, and he wasn't the best player at Ohio State. So
he wasn't even the third best player on Ohio State.
Layton, I can't take you seriously with that sweater on, man. Regardless of what you're saying,
I don't know what you're telling me.
I have a stocking on my head. Like,
I know you're not even wearing it right.
So
what are you talking about?
Michael's the only one that has good sense right now. He looks like a normal.
Well, I said I have an NC State Santa hat. I just don't have it with me.
Justin said talking about Alabama QB. LOL.
He's talking about the rat poison comment. Yeah.
But
as far as the bowl game thing, no, I've not watched.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about UCLA a little bit?
Well, at this point, I think.
Give a quick thought on it.
Well, okay. So here, hold on. So before we'll talk a little bit about this, a little bit more about the game. But I know that Macon, I'll go and say I know Macon's going to be tied up, has a bunch of family coming into town. So I really want to hear more of Macon's thoughts really on this. So I'll kind of, all right. So here, Macon. So we'll give you your 2 minutes. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Because you guys are going to break it down when I'm with the family. Is that why?
I mean, unless you want to,
no.
you could text them to me. You know, you
absolutely
could be,
not.
No. Like, come on now,
you're not the priority.
You're the man.
My
Macon.
thoughts
Go ahead,
are, I think State's got a lot of players that if they want to go in the draft, they have a lot to prove. So I think you're going to see a lot of State's players play, and I think they're competitors. The only player that could arguably not play is Icky, and he's the only one that I would say you don't need to worry about it. I think. UCLA's going to run the ball really well. Charbonnet, the running back, and Dorian Thompson. It's a hyphenated name for their quarterback.
Robinson.
Dorian Robinson, is that what it is?
No, Thompson Robinson.
Thompson Robinson. Okay, excuse me. His first name is Dorian, I think.
Yes.
DTR. Yeah, I think they run the ball a lot, and I think that really sets up well for our team. I think they have their secondary is suspect. That's what I understand. So. Pretty good. It would be very interesting if Chip Kelly is hired to Oregon again, because then he may not be the coach at UCLA when we play them. So
that'd be big.
No,
is there actual reports about that?
Oh yeah, there's rumors like
there was, but the Oregon already hired Dan Lanning, the Georgia defensive coordinator.
Did they really? Didn't see that?
Yeah.
Okay, well then never mind. I guess it is Chip Kelly then.
But there were rumors though. There were.
Yeah, so I think the matchup sets up well for State because we're strong in the run defense area. There's a lot of guys there's nobody except Icky that's like a first round pick that you were like, dude, you just don't worry about it. So if they want to get drafted, like for instance, Bam, if he really, I mean, maybe he is like a third round pick right now, which I don't think he is, but maybe he is, and he sits out. But he says he wants to be at least top 5 rounds. I'd play. If who else? Is anybody else? I mean, nobody's really else is announced, have they, to go to the draft? Ricky?
Not really.
Ricky's going to draft, and he needs to make some money, so he's going to be playing.
He'll probably play, yeah.
So
I think he's definitely playing. Yeah,
so Ricky I think Devin's going to throw the ball a lot. I don't know. I think you've heard this. People say, State, the staff, and the team wants this 10th win
badly
because they want it. They want to be remembered as the second team in state history, and they won't be able to say that. So Icky may play for that purpose. I don't think he will, but he might.
Well, and because again, how amazing would it be for Dorn and to step into recruits, living rooms and say, as great as the season was, this isn't the peak. This is not going to be
10 wins sounds a lot better than 9 wins. 9 wins sounds a lot better than 8 wins, but 10 just got a different ring to it.
And some bonus money on the line.
Correct.
Sure. And
he's already hasn't Dorn already made $50,000 because
I don't know. He's made some. Yeah, he's made a lot
more than that.
And I think
let's go look up the sentence offline. I'll go look
now,
I was reading something that said if he I think a bowl win gets him extra money for his assistant coaches too, or something like that. So that's key.
Now, one story I want to tell real quick, and it's a short story, it's because I know Benjamin Orman talked about the toilet bowl games. So I had a family friend of mine that she was competing in a bowl game pick'em, but you pick not necessarily who the winner is, but you pick per the spread. And so she asked me to do it for her. And so one game that I was interested on was the South Carolina State Jackson State game. So on the sheet, it had the game as like a pick'em game. So it literally had like Jackson State only being favored by like a half a point. But yet, like you go on like Vegas or wherever, they're favored by 10 points. So I was like, oh, what a steal.
Great
like,
value.
you know, and like great value. I'm gonna circle that. They got blown out 31-10. They got blown out. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
So I got the contract details real quick, just so everybody's curious. Doran's going to get for getting 10. So he gets already 50 grand for getting 8 wins. So that's basically state saying our baseline is 8 wins. You get 50 grand. And if he gets to 10 wins, it's 150 grand. So if he gets this win, he'll have at least 200 grand. He has, if he finishes the season as a top 25 team, he gets another 50 grand. And I don't know if the bowl game counts in this, but if he finishes top 15, he would get 100 grand. So we were at 18. So 18. I don't know if the bowl game counts, but maybe.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe so. Okay, so that would be another 200 grand. He's at least got another 50 grand. So I guess he's got 250 grand at least right now, plus potential for another 100. And then playing in a bowl game, a non-CFB bowl game, I think it meant to be CFP. It's $25,000, 50 grand for winning the game, and that's it. So basically, he could win like a solid 300 grand.
Yeah.
I love it. See, I would love like a see, I could totally see like a spoof, like what the coaches actually want to say in their pregame speech, and somebody do like a spoof of like,
I want myself a yacht. Give me that yacht.
Come on, guys, I'm trying to win my 50 grand here. Like, do it for me. Like, so like, don't do it for you, do it for me. Like, I would love a spoof like that. That'd be hilarious. All right, guys. Well, hey, Bacon, any last thoughts for the holidays?
Yeah, I'll give my. You want to give me my prediction?
Yeah, score
prediction. Score prediction.
I think it's going to be a big win. I think it's going to be something like. I think it's going to be something like. Let me see here. Like 38-40 to 21-24, something like that. That's what I think. 38-24, something like that. That's what I think. NC State, maybe 35-24. I think it's going to be a double-digit win. I think mainly because we have a very good run defense. We have a very good passing offense, and they have a bad passing defense. So I think it just sets up well. Unless somebody gets injured, I think it's going to be something like 35-24, somewhere in 38-24, 38-21, something like that.
Okay, I see that. All right, cool. But no, I mean, hey, I would love it. That'd be amazing. I would have a tear. I would have one tear of joy coming down my.
I don't care if it's ugly. Just get the win. I want to say we got 10 wins.
Get the win. 10 wins. And I think can you imagine that 10 wins? That's unbelievable. I can't even wrap my head around that.
They need to act like they've been there before. Don't freak out. Just be like, yeah, it's all good. We've done it. No, I'm just kidding. They need to enjoy it. They enjoy that.
No, they definitely enjoy it. That is
I'm
huge.
joking.
I don't even care.
They say when you do something really great, don't act like you've never been there before. Just be
right. Like, be the Dean Smith, like where Jim Valvano talks about the story where Dean Smith won the national championship. He buttoned up a suit and went over and shook the coach's hand. I'm like, screw that. Be the Jimmy V. Run up and down the court. I don't care. So awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you all so much for joining us, and first of all, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and safe travels to anybody that's traveling to see family, wherever it is. Be safe. If anybody's flying during this time, then God bless you. That's all I'm going to say. So, because traffic, not COVID, traffic. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. Make sure to join us next week as we'll finally talk about the bowl game a little bit more in detail, break it down, and then also to make sure again to put on your schedules December 29th when we play at Miami. Make sure plans to join us for our watch party, and also to just make sure again, if you haven't checked out the Debbie Out interviews, go check them out right now. Just go do it.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much again, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe, and as always, go Pack, y'all.